The first time I realized my basketball coach might be in love with me, it wasn't because of how he looked at me during practice. It was because of a text he sent at 2:17 in the morning. You need to guard your left side better. Also, don't forget you deserve more than what you think. Who the hell sends motivation wrapped up like a love letter at 2 in the morning? I stared at that message under the pale glow of my phone, heartbeat hammering against my ribs like I was sprinting down court. He was my coach, me strict, no nonsense, always barking orders coach. The kind of man who never smiled unless the scoreboard favored us by 30 points. Yet those late-night texts weren't strategy. They were whispers of something softer, something dangerous. And if I was honest with myself, I wanted them. Coach Reynolds was everything I wasn't. Tall, broad-shouldered, with that permanent air of authority that made referees hesitate before calling fouls against our team. He was 32, not old, but older than me by 12 years. I was 20, a sophomore guard trying to balance basketball with grades, trying not to disappoint my parents who already thought basketball was a waste of time. He was supposed to shape me into a better player. Instead, he was reshaping the way I thought about what it meant to be seen, to be wanted. During the day, he was merciless. Whistle in his mouth, voice echoing off the gym walls, sweat pouring down my back as he made me run drills until my legs burned. Focus, Carter. You'll never make it if you hesitate. Faster, smarter, stronger. But at night, my phone would buzz with messages like, "You carry the game on your shoulders, but you don't have to carry the world. Sleep, kid. Tomorrow you'll shine brighter." How could the same man write that? I never told anyone. Not my roommates, not my best friend on the team, not even my journal. Those texts became a secret I guarded fiercely, scrolling through them in the dark like they were a novel only I was allowed to read. The first confrontation came on a freezing November night after practice. The gym smelled like sweat and rubber, the kind of smell that lingered long after everyone left. I stayed behind, pretending to shoot free throws when really I was waiting. "Carter," his voice boomed, echoing too loud in the empty gym. "Lights out in 15. Go home." I turned, gripping the ball too tight. "Coach, why do you text me?" He froze. His whistle dangled from his neck, catching the faint light. His eyes, those sharp, steel gray eyes, narrowed just slightly. "To keep you in line," he said quickly. Too quickly. That's bullshit. The word escaped before I could catch it. My heart was sprinting, but I didn't move. Nobody tells a player he deserves more than what he thinks just to keep him in line. Silence. Just the hum of the gym lights and the ball rolling from my sweaty hands onto the court. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, raw, stripped of the authority that usually cloaked it. "Maybe I care too much," he muttered. "I should have left it at that. But I couldn't. I had tasted something forbidden, and I needed more." The next weeks were torture. On court, he was stricter than ever, like he was punishing himself for slipping. Off court, the texts kept coming. Shorter, sharper, but still carrying undertones he couldn't hide. "Push harder. Don't let anyone define you. Not even me. When you doubt yourself, remember I don't." I started reading between the lines, and what I saw terrified me, because it mirrored something inside me I wasn't ready to admit. Thanksgiving break came, and most of the team scattered home. I stayed in the dorms, claiming I needed extra practice. Really, I just wanted to see if he'd check in. He did. At midnight, a simple text, "You're not eating alone, are you?" I stared at the message for 10 whole minutes before replying, "Maybe." "You offering." The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, "Meet me at the diner by 5th Street. 20 minutes. The diner was nearly empty, neon lights buzzing faintly above cracked leather booths. He was already there, sitting with his jacket unbuttoned, looking strangely out of place among the smell of fried food and stale coffee. When I slid into the booth across from him, his eyes flicked up, and for the first time I saw him without the mask of Coach Reynolds. He looked human, tired, vulnerable, beautiful. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "You texted me." I shot back. He ran a hand through his messy hair, sighing like he'd been holding his breath for years. Carter, this isn't right. Then stop. My voice shook, but I didn't back down. Stop texting me things that sound like love notes. Stop making me feel like I'm the only one you see on that court. Stop making me want. I cut myself off, choking on the word. His hand twitched on the table, like he wanted to reach for mine but couldn't. You think I don't want to? Every damn night I tell myself not to hit send. And then I do, because I can't stop thinking about you. But if anyone found out, they won't, I whispered. For a long moment, he just stared at me, the conflict in his eyes louder than any words. Then the waitress came, breaking the spell. We ordered coffee we didn't drink, pie we didn't touch. The silence between us was thicker than the steam curling off the mugs. When he finally walked me back to campus, he stopped under the dim glow of a street lamp. His breath clouded in the cold air. Carter, I can't be what you want me to be. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing a smile I didn't feel. Then maybe stop pretending you already are. And I walked away before he could answer. But of course, the texts didn't stop. If anything, they grew bolder. Proud of you today. You looked unstoppable. Wish I could tell you how I really see you. You don't know what you do to me. Every message was both a dagger and a lifeline, keeping me awake at night, clutching my phone like it was proof I wasn't imagining everything. And slowly, painfully, I realized I didn't just want his words. I wanted him. The December games came fast and brutal. Long bus rides, freezing gyms, the roar of hostile crowds. Through it all, Coach never let up, yelling, pushing, demanding more out of me than anyone else. But when my phone buzzed in the dark, I saw the other side of him. You carried us tonight. Don't let the noise drown out the truth. Your eyes light up when you play. Makes me forget the scoreboard. No one else got messages like these. No one else made him soften. That secret bound us tighter than I wanted to admit. It all came crashing one night in Ohio, after an away game we barely won. The guys hit the hotel pool, joking and splashing. I begged off, claiming I was sore, though really I just wanted to lie in the dark and replay the way Coach had clapped a hand on my shoulder after I sank the final free throw. His palm had lingered just a second too long. Lying in the hotel bed, my phone lit up. Couldn't stop watching you tonight. My heart nearly stopped. I typed back before I could think. Then don't stop. The bubble appeared. Stalled. Disappeared. 10 minutes of silence stretched until my pulse hurt. Then 3 words that rewrote the air I breathed. I want you. I sat up, staring at those words like they were carved into me. My fingers shook as I typed. Then take me. But when I hit send, no reply came. Not that night. Not the next morning. At breakfast, he was stone-faced, barking orders as if nothing had happened. My chest burned with humiliation, anger, confusion. Did I imagine it? Did he regret it? Did he think I was some stupid kid too reckless to understand what he'd done? On the bus ride back, he avoided my eyes. I pressed my forehead to the cold window, fighting the sting of tears I refused to let fall. The silence lasted a week. No midnight texts. No extra glances at practice. Nothing. I told myself I didn't care, that I hated him, that he was a coward. But the ache didn't leave. It grew. Finally, one night I snapped. I marched to his office after practice, sweat still dripping from my hair. The door was unlocked, the small lamp casting shadows across piles of scouting reports. He looked up, startled, when I slammed the door shut behind me. Why'd you stop? My voice was raw, louder than I meant. He froze, lips parting but no words coming out. You said you wanted me, then you vanished. Do you know what that does to me? My fists clenched at my sides. Do you know how many nights I stayed awake waiting for my phone to light up? Carter. His voice cracked, the name fragile on his tongue. Don't Carter me. You can't pour your heart into my phone at 2 a.m. and then pretend it didn't happen. I'm not your damn practice drill. He stood slowly, hands braced on the desk, eyes dark with conflict. I stopped because I had to, because every word I sent was crossing a line I swore I wouldn't cross. You're my player. I'm your coach. If this gets out, I don't care. My voice shook, too loud in the small room. I don't care about rules or gossip or what anyone thinks. I just care about you. Isn't that enough? The silence between us roared. His jaw tightened, breath shallow, fists curled on the desk like he was holding himself back from breaking apart. Then, slowly, like surrender, his eyes softened. It's more than enough. That's the problem. I took a step closer, then another, until the space between us was a single heartbeat. Then let it be the solution, I whispered. His hand twitched, rising halfway before he forced it down. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. My voice was barely a breath. I'm asking you not to be afraid. And finally, he let go. The kiss wasn't fireworks. It was thunder, a dam breaking, a desperate crash of lips that tasted like regret and longing and something too fierce to name. His hands framed my face, rough and trembling, while mine gripped his shirt like if I let go, the world would vanish. When we broke apart, both of us panting, he whispered against my forehead, "This can't happen again." But I already knew it would. The next weeks were a blur of stolen moments and buried secrets. A brush of his hand against mine when no one was looking. A glance that lasted too long across the gym. And always the texts. I'm addicted to the way you fight on court. Every time you laugh, it feels like I win the championship. God help me, I don't want to stop. I started saving them, every single one, like proof that I wasn't imagining this impossible thing between us. But love never stays hidden. Not forever. It started with whispers. A teammate joking about how coach seemed to ride me harder than anyone else. Another muttering that maybe I was his favorite. I laughed it off, but dread curled in my stomach. Then came the night we almost got caught. It was after another late practice, the gym empty except for us. I was packing up when he grabbed my wrist, pulling me into the shadow of the bleachers. His lips were on mine before I could even think, urgent and hungry. We didn't hear the door creak open until it slammed shut again. Hello! A voice called our assistant coach. We sprang apart, hearts pounding. He barked out some excuse about going over strategies. The assistant didn't press, but suspicion lingered in his eyes. Afterward, Coach's hands shook as he shoved them into his pockets. This is going to ruin us, he muttered. I grabbed his arm. Then let it. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But in that moment, I knew whatever the cost, I wasn't going to give him up. Christmas break split us apart. He went home to his family in Chicago. I stayed with mine in Denver. The distance was torture, but the texts didn't stop. Wish you were here. Every time I see a basketball hoop, I think of you. Miss your face. My parents noticed how often I was glued to my phone. They teased me about having a secret girlfriend. I laughed it off, throat tight, knowing the truth would shatter them. Some nights I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was strong enough for this. For him. For us. But then my phone would buzz, and all the doubts melted into warmth. January came, and with it, a storm. A rival team crushed us in a brutal game, and I played terribly. Sloppy passes, missed shots. I could feel Coach's fury burning into me from the sidelines. In the locker room, he exploded. What the hell was that, Carter? You think you can coast through games just because you've got talent? You embarrassed yourself. You embarrassed this team. The words cut deep. My teammates stared, awkward and silent, while I clenched my fists, fighting tears. But later that night, the text came. I was too hard on you. I hate myself for it. I just need you to believe in yourself the way I do. I stared at the message, fury mixing with longing. Then I typed back, stop hiding behind your whistle. Say it to my face. 10 minutes later, there was a knock on my dorm door. When I opened it, he was there, disheveled, eyes wild, like he'd fought himself all the way across campus. Carter, I didn't let him finish. I pulled him inside and kissed him hard enough to erase the rest of the world. That night, for the first time, we didn't stop at kisses. It was clumsy, frantic, a mess of whispered apologies and desperate touches. But it was real, raw, alive. Afterward, tangled in sheets, his arm draped over me, I felt safer than I ever had. But even as I drifted towards sleep, a whisper gnawed at me. Secrets like this never stay safe forever. Secrets don't rot quietly. They demand light. It began with the slip of a photo. I'd left my phone charging in the locker room during warm-ups, too focused on the pregame drills to notice. A teammate, Kyle, our loudmouthed forward, thought it'd be funny to scroll through my texts. He meant to mess with me, maybe change my background to something stupid. Instead, he saw the messages. Saw Coach's name lighting up my screen at 1:48 a.m. with words that were never meant for anyone else. Can't stop thinking about you, even in my dreams. By the time I returned to grab my phone, the locker room was a vacuum of silence. Kyle's smirk was gone. My teammates avoided my eyes, their faces painted with a mix of confusion, judgment, pity. And I knew the secret was out. Practice that Monday was hell. Whispers trailed me with every drill. Laughter sharpened behind my back. When I missed a shot, the snickers were louder than the squeak of sneakers on polished wood. Coach tried to act normal, tried to bark orders, blow his whistle, push us harder. But his eyes kept flicking to me, worry flashing in quicksilver glances he couldn't hide. The more he looked, the more obvious it became. And the more obvious it became, the more the whispers grew. By Wednesday, someone had already posted screenshots online. They spread like wildfire. Coach's midnight words dissected and mocked on anonymous forums. Rumors bled into classrooms, hallways, cafeteria lines. By Friday, the athletic director called him in for a meeting. That night, my phone buzzed. Don't come by. Don't ask questions. Just focus on playing. Please. Felt like a knife twisting into my chest. I texted back anyway. I don't care what they say. I care about you. No reply came. The game that weekend was a disaster. My head wasn't in it. I kept glancing at the bench, searching for his steady presence. But his seat was empty. The assistant coach paced the sidelines instead, shouting commands that felt hollow. I played like a ghost. Turnovers, missed shots, no fire in my veins. We lost by 20. Afterward, the locker room was suffocating. No one spoke to me, not even to mock me. I was invisible, erased. When I finally stumbled outside, the January night cut through my sweat-soaked clothes like glass. My phone buzzed. It was him. Meet me at the gym. Midnight. The gym was dark except for the emergency lights casting eerie shadows across the court. He was already there, sitting on the bleachers, elbows on his knees, face buried in his hands. When he looked up, my chest cracked open. He looked older, tired, like the world had been grinding him down. They're suspending me, he said flatly. Pending investigation. The words hit harder than any foul I'd ever taken. For what? My voice shook. For you, he said, meeting my eyes. For us. Across the court, every step heavy. This isn't fair. Fair doesn't matter. Rules do. His laugh was bitter, broken. They think I crossed a line I never should have. You didn't force me into anything. They don't care. He raked a hand through his hair. And maybe they're right. Maybe I should have stopped at the first text. Maybe I should have kept my feelings locked up until they rotted me from the inside out. But I didn't. I let myself want you. I let myself fall. The word fall echoed through me like a bell. I grabbed his hands, pulled them away from his face, held them tight. Then fall. With me. His eyes burned, gray storms threatening to spill. You don't know what this will cost you. Yes, I do. My voice cracked but held. It'll cost me whispers, laughter, maybe even friends. But it'll give me you. And that's worth everything. He shook his head, torn between belief and fear. Carter, don't you dare walk away from me, I begged. Not after everything. For a long moment, we just stared, suspended in a fragile silence. Then, with a trembling exhale, he pulled me into his arms. We clung to each other in the dark gym, the echo of our breaths mingling with the memory of every shot I'd ever taken on that court. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid. The storm didn't pass. It worsened. The athletic board convened. Parents complained. Articles popped up in local papers, painting him as reckless, unprofessional, dangerous. My name was rarely printed, but everyone knew. I became that kid, the one who seduced his coach, the one who ruined a career. Hallways turned hostile. Teammates avoided me. Professors looked at me differently, pity heavy in their eyes. But in the quiet hours, when the world was asleep, my phone still lit up. Don't give up. They don't see you like I do. Hold on. For me. And I did. February bled into March. Our team crumbled without him, loss after loss piling up. Morale shredded. I still played, but the joy was gone. The court felt like a battlefield I couldn't win without his voice guiding me. Then came the hearing. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I went anyway. I sat in the back of the stuffy boardroom, listening as they dissected him like he was nothing but a scandal to manage. They didn't talk about how he built the program from the ground up, how he turned boys into men, how he saved me from drowning in self-doubt. They only talked about the texts, the late-night messages, the blurred lines. When they asked if he had anything to say, he stood. His shoulders were squared, but his hands shook at his sides. I did what I shouldn't have, he admitted. I let my heart get ahead of my role. I crossed lines, but I never hurt him, never manipulated him. Everything I did, every word, every message came from a place of respect and care. If that makes me unfit to coach, then so be it. But don't you dare call what we shared a mistake. My throat tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. The room buzzed with whispers. The board exchanged looks. In the end, they voted. Suspension extended. Contract under review. His future uncertain. When he walked out of that room, the weight on his shoulders nearly crushed me. But when our eyes met, just for a heartbeat, I saw it. Pride. Not in himself. In me. In us. That night, we met at the diner again. Same cracked leather booth. Same stale coffee. They'll probably fire me, he said, voice flat. I don't care, I whispered. But I do. Basketball's my life. Coaching's all I've ever had. He stared at his hands, knuckles raw from tension. And now, I don't know who I am without it. I reached across the table, covered his hand with mine. You're the man who made me believe in myself. The man who taught me to fight. The man I swallowed the lump in my throat. Love. His eyes lifted slowly, shock and tenderness colliding in his gaze. Say it again. His voice was a plea. I love you. The words hung in the air, heavy, unshakable. And when he whispered back, I love you too, it was like the world tilted into place. But love doesn't erase consequences. The board delayed their decision. The team finished the season in ruins. I stayed pushing through classes, practices, stairs. He disappeared from the gym, from the sidelines, from everything public. Yet in the quiet corners of our lives, we built something stronger than any court could hold. Late-night drives, hidden laughter, touches stolen like treasure. Every text, every glance, every kiss was a rebellion, a promise that no matter what the world said, we would not break. And slowly whispers lost power. Rumors grew stale. New scandals replaced ours. But what never faded was the truth. He was mine, and I was his. Spring arrived in quiet fragments, longer days, softer winds, the faint smell of cut grass drifting across campus. By then, the scandal had dulled into background noise. New rumors took its place. New controversies filled the halls. People forgot or pretended to, but I never forgot. Neither did he. Coach No, James, as I now dared to call him in private, was no longer pacing the sidelines. His whistle collected dust on his desk. His clipboard sat abandoned in the office he rarely visited. The board hadn't fired him yet, but the silence was worse. An indefinite purgatory, stretching week after week, stealing the fire from his eyes. Sometimes, I caught him staring at the empty court through the glass doors, like he was watching a part of himself he could never reclaim. And it broke me. One night, after a brutal exam week, I found him sitting on the bleachers. The gym was dark, the only light spilling from the moon through high windows. His shoulders slumped, head bowed like he carried invisible chains. I walked up the steps slowly, sat beside him without a word. Minutes passed before he spoke. His voice was low, frayed. "Do you ever regret it?" "Us?" I asked. He nodded. I thought about the whispers, the stares, the loneliness, about losing teammates, friends, normalcy, about watching him suffer, powerless to fix it. And then I thought about his texts, his hand on my cheek, the way my heart steadied when I heard his voice. "No," I said. "Never." His eyes glistened in the silver light. "Sometimes I wonder if I ruined your life. You saved it." I turned toward him, letting every word carry the weight of my truth. "Before you, I didn't believe I was worth anything. Not to my parents, not to my team, not to myself. But you saw me, and that changed everything." His throat worked around unsaid words. Then, slowly, his hand found mine, fingers trembling as they intertwined. In that quiet gym, under moonlit shadows, we sat holding hands like two fugitives who had stopped running. April brought the board's final decision. He was dismissed. The announcement landed like a punch I should have seen coming but still knocked me breathless. Official words dressed up in cold formality: breach of conduct, inappropriate communication, failure to maintain professional boundaries, no mention of love, no acknowledgement of humanity. Just a sentence, stripped and clinical, ending his career. I found him that night packing boxes in his office. The smell of dust and old playbooks lingered in the air. His whistle lay on the desk, glinting faintly. "This isn't the end," I told him. He gave me a tired smile, one corner of his mouth barely lifting. "It feels like it." I walked over, took the whistle, and pressed it into his palm. "This is a piece of plastic and metal. It doesn't define you. You're more than this job." He closed his hand around it, eyes closing, shoulders trembling. "I don't know who I am without this." "You're James Reynolds," I whispered. "You're stubborn, brilliant, impossible. You're the man who texts me at 3 a.m. because he can't sleep until he knows I believe in myself. You're the man I love. That's who you are." His eyes opened, shining with something fragile and fierce. He set the whistle down and pulled me into his arms, holding me like I was the only truth left in a collapsing world. Summer came, and with it, freedom. He moved out of the faculty apartment, renting a small place on the edge of town. It wasn't glamorous peeling paint, a fridge that hummed too loud, a bed that squeaked with every shift. But it was ours. We filled it with laughter, with arguments about who burned the eggs, with lazy mornings tangled in sheets. For the first time, we weren't hiding behind texts or shadows. For the first time, we were simply us. My parents found out in July. It happened over dinner, when I finally gathered the courage to tell them the truth. My mother's fork clattered against the plate. My father's jaw tightened, silence heavy as stone. The argument that followed was brutal accusations, disbelief, fear. They couldn't understand. They didn't want to. "You're throwing away your future," my father thundered. "No," I said, voice breaking but steady. "I'm finally living it." I left that night, heart shattered but strangely light, because for once I wasn't hiding. When I showed up at James's apartment, eyes red and hands shaking, he pulled me in without a word. He kissed my forehead, whispered, "You did the hardest thing," and somehow I believed him. Autumn returned, bringing a new season, a new team, a new coach. I stayed on the roster, though the court felt different without his voice echoing across it. But every game I still searched the crowd, and sometimes I saw him, hat pulled low, sitting in the back, cheering softly under his breath. Every time our eyes met, the fire returned to my veins. Life didn't fix itself overnight. We carried scarce-off whispers, of loss, of doors slammed in our faces. But we carried them together. He found work running youth clinics at the community center, pouring his passion into kids who needed someone to believe in them. I kept playing, balancing classes with games, chasing dreams I no longer feared were out of reach. And at night, when the world went quiet, our phones still lit up. not out of secrecy but habit, a tradition we refused to break. Proud of you today. You're stronger than you think. Good night, love. Simple words, but they meant everything. The first time we walked hand in hand through town, heads turned. Some glared, some whispered, but others smiled. And I realized we weren't just surviving. We were showing people like us that love could outlast shame. That love, even forbidden, could bloom. Years later, looking back, I don't remember the scores of those games. I don't remember the wins or losses. I remember the midnight texts, the diner booths, the gym lit only by moonlight. I remember the man who taught me to fight not just on the court, but for myself. And I remember the moment I realized that every strategy, every play, every whispered word was never about basketball. They were love letters disguised as tactics. Love letters that saved me. The last message he ever sent me as Coach Reynolds came on the night of his dismissal. I saved it, buried deep in my phone, where no one else could touch it. This isn't goodbye. This is the start of forever. And he was right, because forever is exactly what we built. Together. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.